All right. So again, going to the Austin Hedges comments. This was to Chris Rose on the Chris Rose rotation. John Boy Media. And Chris Rose, he had a question to Austin Hedges about who is the best leader that Austin Hedges has ever had as a teammate. Austin Hedges picked Eric Hosmer. And then Hedges went on and described how I think he's referring to the Padres. I don't know if he's referring to Padres fans, but I think he's referring to the Padres and their treatment of Eric Hosmer. He said the Padres treated Eric Hosmer terribly. Here is the audio of that.
Terrible how they treated him there. Absolutely terrible. They just didn't understand what they had. And if you ask any of his teammates there throughout that whole time, 100% of the ones that I've talked to would say the exact same thing I'm saying right now. And the thing that guy brought to a room, to a team, is it's worth wins. And but if your OPS isn't sexy enough for some of the nerds, then you're just not a valuable player. And in my mind, Eric Hosmer is an extremely valuable player. It still is. It's terrible how they treat him.
All right, Austin Hedges. So the nerds. So the OPS. If the OPS isn't sexy enough for the nerds, he thinks Hosmer equals wins. I mean, does any team employ Eric Hosmer? Like, right, what I should say is Eric Hosmer on any Major League Baseball team right now? He's getting paid by one, the San Diego Padres, but the Cubs are no longer employing Eric Hosmer. The Red Sox, who traded for him, no longer employing Eric Hosmer. So I don't think it's just the Padres terribly treating Eric Hosmer a certain way. Like, Austin, I get it. You're probably good friends with Eric Hosmer, and you thought he was a good teammate and a good leader. And by the way, Austin Hedges, he's not the only Padre that has said that about Eric Hosmer. So I'm sure he is correct about Eric Hosmer being a lovable, great clubhouse guy. But that does not equal wins, unlike what Austin says. It doesn't. Ha-Sung Kim this season has a 5.9 WAR, and he's not making anywhere close to what Eric Hosmer made per season with the San Diego Padres. Eric Hosmer is being paid, I think, $13 million this year by the Padres to do nothing, to not be in that dugout. Just think about that. And Ha-Sung Kim is making less than that and is performing tremendously well. In one season, Eric Hosmer had a 3.7 baseball reference WAR in 596 games with the Padres. He hurt the Padres more than he helped them, right? He has a positive WAR, but he should have a much higher WAR based on what the heck he was being paid. That's for sure. And I'm sorry. I think the Padres actually treated Eric Hosmer pretty well, because I think other teams would have cut bait on him earlier than the Padres did. The Padres didn't trade him in 2021. And guess what? Even with that great clubhouse guy, the team collapsed. Didn't make the playoffs in 2018, didn't make the playoffs in 2019. And Eric Hosmer, he was replaced by Jake Cronenworth a little bit in that short 2020 season when the Padres made the playoffs. 2021, no playoff appearance. 2022, not that impressive. And then Eric Hosmer gets dealt. And guess what happens after that? That same exact season. The Padres go farther than they ever have since 1998 without Eric Hosmer on this baseball team. Is that a coincidence, or is there a reason behind that? Why is that? If his clubhouse leadership was so important, wouldn't the Padres have kept him on the roster for 2022? Right? Like, there's other leaders in that clubhouse. And what you do on the field, especially when you're making that amount of money, it matters more than what you mean in the clubhouse and you being this good teammate. Because there's other guys that can be teammates and good people in that clubhouse. There's other leaders in that clubhouse. Eric Hosmer's not the only leader on the face of the earth. You know? And so I think he was referring to the Padres treating Eric Hosmer this way. But if he's directing this towards Padres fans and like they didn't realize how good they had it or what they had with Eric Hosmer, and if he's directing that towards us, give me a break, Austin. We helped pay Eric Hosmer's contract. Okay. He didn't like embrace the Padres community. He didn't really embrace Padres fans. And you can say, oh, well, the Padres fans crapped on him the whole time. No, 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 not the whole time. He had a chance at the beginning of his Padres tenure, and he just didn't live up to expectations. So when you're making that much amount of money and you're not living up to expectations, I'm sorry, fans are going to get pissed off. And I'm sorry, you're making more money than any Padres fan, most Padres fans are ever going to see in their lives. Okay. So I think you'll be fine. You can deal with it. There are people that are making a lot less money than you that get booed, right? That fans don't like them. And let's look at the difference between Eric Hosmer and Matt Carpenter, right? Carpenter hasn't played in weeks. But does any Padres fan hate Matt Carpenter, or do they just not like that he didn't perform, right? Maybe some don't like that he's taking up a roster spot, even though I don't think the Padres really need that extra roster spot just based on how the roster is constructed. But that's another story. That's another topic, right? But people don't hate Matt Carpenter. There's Padre fans that really don't like Eric Hosmer, right? And I'm one of those people. And I think part of that is because you didn't see these quotes from Eric Hosmer that Matt Carpenter has about I'm willing to do whatever it takes for the team, and he's being a great mentor and all that. Like, sure, you've seen like Hosmer, good clubhouse guy, and all that. So maybe he was doing that, but he didn't seem so accepting of a role if he wasn't going to be starting. Like if he was in Matt Carpenter's role right now with the Padres, would he be taking it the same as Matt Carpenter is? There's just a different vibe with Matt Carpenter. And so Padres fans, I'm not seeing them hating on Matt Carpenter. They're just frustrated that the contract hasn't worked out and he just hasn't played well, right? But there's a difference between those two things, Eric Hosmer, I didn't see him in a bunch of Padres community posts or anything like that, going out in the community, caring about Padres fans. And he didn't try to get better, is what it felt like, right? Like there were times where it's like, dude, try to change something. And it just felt like he had the mentality of, well, I'm a 4-time Gold Glove winner or whatever, all-star MVP, World Series champ. It got me here, so I'm going to keep doing it. Sometimes you have to evolve. You have to change. You have to do what's best for the team. And it didn't feel like that he did that. So, sorry. You're going to get boos and you're going to get crapped on by Padres fans because they're spending their hard-earned money to come watch you play, and then you disappoint with your performance. Looks like you don't really care. That's going to rub off. That's going to be a bad look to Padres fans. So I think Padres fans are totally fine with what they've done with Eric Hosmer. Austin Hedges, I mean, come on, man. It's terrible how they treated Eric Hosmer. They didn't understand what they had. I think the Padres have been great to vets who have been underperforming, right? They've overpaid some players. They gave Matt Carpenter that contract. They gave Nelson Cruz a contract. They kept Eric Hosmer longer than they should have. They still have Matt Carpenter on the roster. They kept Austin Nola longer on the roster than he probably should have been. There's a lot of different instances where I think they've treated vets really well.